As little girls, we loved our dolls. We loved to play with them, dress them up, and give them fun hairstyles. Then you grow up, watch Child's Play, and you never look at those beloved childhood dolls in the eyes ever again. Hey YouTube, I'm Court McGinley, and welcome back to the most amazing top 5. Sit back, subscribe, and let me entertain you. Before we get started on this list, I want to know, what was your favorite toy as a child? Let me know your answers down in the comments. Alright, I guess we should get started on this list of the top 5 scariest possessed dolls. And at our number 5 spot, we have Ted the Haunted Doll Clown. Yeah, this doesn't sound good. Already off to a rough start. This clown was claimed to be haunting his owner, Ernest. He says that ever since he got this doll, he started to hear strange noises like kids crying. He also claimed that this doll would move. One day, Ernest placed the doll down in a marked spot, and then came back and found he had moved 3 feet from where Ernest left him. He also claimed that over time, the doll's shoe pads were worn out, and that in some picture the doll appeared to have a weird energy around it. In our number 4 spot, Okiku. This doll was purchased back in 1918 by a 17-year-old boy while he was at a marine exhibition. He got the doll as a souvenir for his 2-year-old sister. Okiku. His sister loved this doll very much and would play with it every day. However, sadly, the following year she got very sick and died from a cold. The family then placed the doll in the altar of their house, and they would pray to it every day in memory of their departed daughter. After weeks of praying to the doll, they started to notice the doll's hair was starting to grow. This led them to believe that their daughter's restless spirit had taken possession of the doll. Imagine that, noticing the doll's hair actually getting longer. That's just too freaky. In at number 3, Mandy. Mandy was supposedly made in Germany or England around 1910 to 1920, and she is an antique porcelain doll. Back in 1991, she was donated to a museum in British Columbia. Mandy's previous owner donated her to the museum after all of these weird things started to happen. Several nights she would wake up to the sounds of a baby crying in the basement, and when she would go to check it out, she would always find the window open and there was never a baby. And after donating Mandy, the crying had stopped. However, the museum started to experience strange occurrences. Staff members' lunches would disappear from the fridge and end up in drawers. Then pens and books would go missing, and footsteps would be heard when no one was around. Mandy was locked in her own case at the museum. She would often play around with electrical equipment, and some people have even claimed to see her blink and have said that her eyes have followed them around the museum. One of the creepiest cases is the fact that Mandy has a little toy lamb in her case to keep her company, and one day the lamb was found outside the case with no explanation. Paranormal investigators say she is just the sweet little spirit of a child who has taken the presence of this doll. And at number 2, Robert. Back in 1906, this doll named Robert was given to a 4-year-old boy named Robert Eugene Otto by an unhappy servant who practiced black magic. Throughout Eugene's childhood, his parents would hear him playing with and talking to the doll. But the strange part is, they would also hear the doll talk back. At first they assumed Eugene was responding back to himself by making a different voice, but when they asked him about his made-up voice, he didn't know what they were talking about. Shortly after, neighbors reported seeing the doll move from window to window when the family was out, and occasionally the family would see the doll running from room to room out of the corner of their eyes. The doll would often be caught blinking a lot as well. Eugene died in 1973, and the doll was left in the attic until new owners bought the house. The family had a 10-year-old daughter who became the doll's new owner. And soon enough, the girl began screaming in the middle of the night and said Robert was running around the room in attempts to attack her multiple times. This doll is said to be one of the most haunted objects in the world. Also, fun fact, the Chucky doll is actually inspired by Robert. And in at our number 1 spot, of course, we have Annabelle. So thanks to The Conjuring, we all know about Annabelle, the Raggedy Ann doll, and paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. To this day, they have artifacts from hauntings displayed in their museum. And the item that attracts the most attention is the Annabelle doll. This doll has been confirmed of being possessed by the ghost of a girl who was buried underneath an apartment building. Before being locked away, Annabelle was constantly being found in strange places, and people could hear her moving in the next room. But the craziest thing that happened was the story from a man named Lou. So one night Lou was sleeping and woke up in a panic after having a nightmare, only he couldn't move. He looked down towards his feet and saw Annabelle. Annabelle began to slowly glide up his leg and onto his chest. She then began to strangle him and he passed out. The next morning he woke up and he was sure it wasn't a dream. As I said before, now Annabelle lives in the occult museum. Her locked case is holy water encrusted and there's a warning saying positively do not open. Well, there you have it. That's the list of the top 5 scariest possessed dolls. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and I'll catch you in the next one.